And we back with another episode of the Double O Podcast, otherwise known as the Double Oppa Podcast. And on this particular episode, we're going to navigate through the trials and tribulations of this game called life by providing opinions that only an Oppa can provide. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Drew, and this is my co-host Young. And today you're going to get two Oppas and two opinions. And you can follow us on all social media platforms and all podcast platforms. So this includes things like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, really the only places where you should be listening to podcasts. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, which is at the double zero podcast. For some reason, at the double opa and the double O were already taken. So that's unfortunate. However, those will be in the about this episode section if you're following us on YouTube, and we'll make sure to include links on the other platforms as well. If you have questions or you want us to talk about certain topics, please feel free to shoot us a DM or an email, which we will also include at the bottom of the About Me section. But other than that, Young, what have you been up to, bro?
Man, my life has been taken over by my little girl. I had a daughter about a month ago.
Congratulations again.
As of this recording, we are 6 weeks in, six and some change. Lots of diaper changes, putting them to sleep or putting her to sleep. Just trying to find the good times in between. So I just got back to work. I was on a paternity leave, or as my company calls it, bonding leave. Was a really good 3 weeks time to, you know, s- just what the word says, bond with your daughter. Uh, Compared to what my wife does, she does a lot. You can call me her executive assistant, basically. So organize things, clean things up. Occasionally, give her the bottle, change diapers. So it's been a lot of those. Wouldn't change anything, to be honest. And I'm happy to be here to record another session, but at the same time, my daughter's always in the back of my mind, my wife, and all the people that have taken care of us. We had a nanny for a little bit. My mother-in-law's here, so just a lot of people helping us along the way. Really appreciate it. So that's been my life for the last 6 weeks. Um, what about you, man? A little bit different,
Let's see.
I hope.
Yeah, we're living very different lives right now. So let's see. I wouldn't call it a music festival per se, but at Waterfront Park, Tiesto and Millennium did a 2-day show. So on Saturday it was Tiesto, and then on Sunday it was Millennium. Uh, that was a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. The uh the production was top tier. Like they had a bunch of drones at the end of every set that did a bunch of cool like visuals and stuff, which I've never seen before. So that was awesome. And then if you're familiar with Waterfront Park in San Diego, it really is a like pristine place to watch the sunset, especially while there's music playing. So from that perspective, solid. Um, I've seen Millennium many times, and he's always good. Like, don't get me wrong, but that particular set, he just went, like, extra hard. I'm talking, like, banger after banger after banger, and I just, like, couldn't believe it. And on a Sunday of all days. So, because it was so good, we decided to go to the after party, and then I didn't get home till, like, 4 AM. So, that, is what I've been up to. Good times,
Yeah,
brother.
I think I
Good
wake
times.
up at 4 a.m. now, so we're just like, tossing the baton. I'm like, "Hey,
Oh
I'm
my
going to sleep.
god.
Here you are, and you go have your fun, and then you come back to sleep, and I'm starting the day." So, man, good shit,
Hey, I gotta
good
ask you a
shit.
question, though. Uh, I know it's still early on, but can you see your daughter being more like you or more like your wife yet just yet?
So far, she's kind of looking and behaving like my line, so my family line.
Like your side of the family? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so very stubborn, very intentional. She can't talk, obviously, but a
She's
lot
thinking it.
of yeah, probably. now that she's 6 weeks in,
Right.
she's starting to have her like intentions about what she wants to do.
Mm,
Obviously, they can't talk, so they will let you know by crying and complaining.
100%.
Yeah, and she's got a pretty set, I don't want to call it schedule, but pretty set like emotions. So like if she doesn't like something, she'll let you know. If she's tired, she'll let you know. So a lot of those. I don't know. Everybody who's seen her so far says she's pretty stubborn or very intentional about what she does, and
Right.
a lot of that probably comes from me, my parents, my dad, my sister. So, but hopefully she will take a good, kind side like her mother at some point. She looks a lot like me, so far, but I'm hoping she gets bigger eyes like her mother for sure.
I will say, I think from the pictures I have seen, I would definitely agree. As of right now, she definitely looks more like you.
Yeah,
So
she looks like my dad. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on who you ask, but I will just stop right there.
I have seen his dad. Young does look a lot more like his dad than he does than his mom. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. But anyways, man, you want to introduce
Cool.
the topics for today and kind of what we're gonna into, bro?
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a catch up that we were doing, but you know, we're kind of starting this thing out, figuring out as we go. So I think starting today, we're gonna try different things. We've gotten some feedback from people that have heard around us, especially our close friends. So thank you guys for giving us this idea. So today, basically, we're gonna try out a new format or segment, if you will, where we try to bring more interesting topics, more pertinent topics for the listeners. Uh, you can call it hot topics, cultural phenomena, whatever that's going around in our world today. Again, I think Andrew said at the beginning, if there's something you want us to cover, if there's something you want our opinions or our advice, please let her know. Please let us know. In any format, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. I think you can leave comments now in podcasts. I can't remember exactly, but
You
I mean
can in
YouTube.
Spotify, but it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, YouTube for sure. And
Right.
obviously you can DM us on Instagram or email us if you have to. If you know us personally, text us too, I suppose. But we prefer a more business approach to uh, to getting feedback. So,
Agreed.
without further ado, we decided to dive into this world of relationship um, by looking into other people's lives. And I think we chose this method because personally, I love this website, and I'm sure you do as well. It's called Reddit.
Hey, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. You know,
I think sometimes nowadays I just get the news from Reddit before I get into.
100%, dude.
Yeah, so like for example, if I'm as you probably have known by now from our previous episodes, we both love sports.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, all kinds of sports actually, and through Reddit, and obviously if you're not familiar with Reddit, it's a community forum website here in the U.S. It's got these clusters of communities called subreddit, where it could really be about anything. So there's a subreddit about NFL. If there's a subreddit about certain celebrity, even have their own subreddit. So a lot of their fans go there and like comment about pictures, or I'm sure, for example, there's probably a subreddit on Kendrick Lamar or Taylor Swift. Uh, and it could
Confirmed.
vary all kinds of stuff. And one of the ones that we both enjoy, and I'm sure a lot of people enjoy reading, is a subreddit called "Am I the Asshole?" Or in short, it's AITA or AITAH.
MITD. Yeah.
Yeah.
AITA. Right.
So, and as it turns out, there's like several subreddits called "Am I the Asshole?" One that spells it out, one that takes the acronyms. So a lot of these subreddits basically kind of talk about the same thing. So there may be some poster that writes a story about their life or something about someone that they know. It could be anything. It could be about anything. And then they kind of describe the situation, and then they ask the readers if certain person in that story is an asshole or not. So we love this subreddit because we could pretty much kind of look into the things we want to talk about. And then there's going to be pretty much any type of story. So today, covering this topic of relationship, we're going to try to read a couple of these posts and then give our thoughts. In this subreddit, Am I the Asshole? You usually give that verdict. So earlier I said they posted and they asked the reader if they're the asshole or not. So there's different ways to give verdicts. Obviously, the person in question is the asshole, or the person in question is not the asshole. And then there's other various verdicts like nobody in this situation is an asshole, or everybody kind of sucks here. So everybody's an asshole. So we're going to read a couple of the posts, give our thoughts and analysis on it, give some verdict, and then if we have some personal relation or personal experience around it, we'll also kind of touch up on it, and then kind of to cap it all up, give our opinions or advice on certain things about relationship. So does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds good to me, brother.
Cool. So for those of you watching, we're gonna try to share the screen on the post. And then because this is a podcast, I'm going to try to read out the situation and then we'll go from there. So give me 1 second. And hopefully I can get the right one. All right. So the first post we're going to talk about, let me read the title and then the text. So it's titled, Would I Be the Asshole for Leaving the Relationship Without Fighting for It? Or it's in quotation, fighting for it, after girlfriend suggested open relationship. So let me read it out. So the poster, we call it OP, original poster, is the guy who actually wrote the post in Reddit lingo. So OP is a 27-year-old male, had been together with his girlfriend, 27 female, so same age, for 3 years. Stable relationship and no red flags from his point of view. Last Saturday, she asked for an open relationship. Her reasoning was that they did not get along or they did not get to enjoy themselves in the past, and it could help them strengthen the intimacy and love. So he rejected it. She seemed unhappy about it. He said, I'm not going to lie, an open relationship suggestion out of nowhere is a huge red flag for me. It means probably there is someone else she had in mind already. I have been cheated on in the past and made it very clear that I want a monogamous relationship before being exclusive. Her suggestion made me mental for a few days. He goes on to say that I want to break up with her. I do love her, but she opened the Pandora's box, and I'm not sure if I can trust her again in that relationship. It will not be healthy for both sides. So the ultimate question is: Would I be the asshole? Would the OP be the asshole if if I leave the relationship without trying to salvage it? I tried saving my old relationship where there were trust issues and it did not work. I just do not want to harm my psychology struggling. At the same time, I doubt myself because I love her and it's a 3-year-old relationship.
All
So
right,
true.
brother. Let me. I have some strong opinions about this.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm gonna kick this off by saying I'm only gonna focus on his side of the story because we don't have hers. So there's no point in trying to figure out, oh, well, maybe she thinks this or maybe she thinks that. We just don't have it. So I think it's only fair that we focus on the information that's provided. So my first initial thought here is he's dealing with someone that wants her cake and wants to eat it too. It's like, hey, like, I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but I still want to keep you around, right? Because it's clear that he's made his feelings about this situation very clear. And Yet it sounds like her solution is, "Hey, let's just keep an open relationship so I can keep you around." And I feel like at that age, because yeah, it says they're both 27, you should know better than that to like string someone along and to kind of manipulate someone's emotions like that. Because let's say in a scenario where he agrees to this, which I personally don't think he will, he's gonna be fucking miserable. Like, he's gonna go on the gram, he's gonna go on whatever and see her, doing whatever with this other guy. And dude, it's gonna drive him insane. And when I think about the situation based on the information provided, it's just like I personally wouldn't do it. I as much as it's gonna suck and as much as it's gonna hurt, um, I would rather have this guy kind of go through the pain and go through the process of just letting this relationship go. Because I think the worst thing you could do to yourself or to somebody else is stringing them along and giving them this false hope that things are gonna work out or maybe there's a chance later. Um, I've personally been in a situation and, you know, I'm glad I went through it because, obviously you learn that shit just doesn't work out that way and, you know, it's just
Ooh,
you don't
okay,
wanna
you gave us some spicy take here. Tell us a
well,
little
no, no,
bit
I mean,
about
like,
the
I think
personal relationship.
we've all been I mean, I think as men, we've all kind of been through a situation where we've been strung along, right? Whether we know it or we don't, right? And in either case, when you find out that you're being strung along, it's like one of the shittiest feelings in the world. You know what I mean? Because it's like one, they don't respect you. Because if they respected you, then they would just cut it clean, right? It's like, hey, like I respect you enough. I respected whatever we had to say, hey, I don't want to like drag you along and give you this false sense of, you know, I just need my space and we'll get back together. When in reality, like that's not the fucking case. And so that's the other thing I was gonna mention too. It's like this person clearly has no respect for the dude because if she did, then she would have just cut it clean. Because yeah, it says they've been dating for 3 years. So it's like if I could, like, I wish this motherfucker was on camera right now so I could tell him. Okay, like, I would tell this motherfucker. All right, I would just cut your losses. Just be happy that you were able to spend those 3 years together. We don't know what those 3 years were like, but at this point in time, you are an option to her, and that is never a good feeling. And you know what? There's probably someone out there where you're gonna be the priority and not an option. You know what I'm saying? So I would tell this brother, cut your losses. It's not good. If anyone comes at you and it's like, yo, I want an open relationship, and you're not of that same mindset, and we can talk about that too, the whole open relationship thing. Um, yeah, that's just my opinion, dude. I think this dude's in a shitty position. It's gonna suck, but go through it, brother. It's all good. This ain't it.
All right, so
Ain't it?
couple things there. One, do you think she already has an option lined up? That's what I'm
Okay, bro.
suspecting.
I, I appreciate that you asked that question because I think in this day and age, it's really easy for both men and women to have someone lined up before you
Oh,
leave
that's a
your
spicy take.
well, because think about it, right? I mean, how many times have like just you and me personally have we seen someone just jump into a relationship very quickly? And you kind of have to ask yourself the question. It's like, was that person always there? It's like, yes, of course that person was always there. You think fucking someone's gonna jump into a relationship that fucking fast just because they just suddenly found somebody? No, dude, it means that that person was always there, right? And the thing is, it's so easy to do nowadays that, yeah, I in this particular situation, I absolutely think this person was always there. Maybe it was a friend, maybe they've known each other for a while, but in her mind, this person has always been an option. And fast forward to now, as I read this post again, that's kind of the gut feeling I'm getting. You know what I'm saying? Because all of a sudden, I want an open relationship. I want an open relationship means, oh, I already have someone lined up, right? I already have someone I've been thinking about. I'm probably already talking to this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thought on that.
Okay, the other question then is let's put you in the shoes of this guy.
Yes.
I mean, he's pretty much got the same opinions that you do, saying, you know, probably there's someone else already. He seems like he knows that this is not something he should do because of all the damage that it's going to cause.
Oh yeah.
So he wants to break it clean. How would you do that? Like, how would you go about breaking up?
I think simple is always the best, You just thank the person for the time. Obviously, you let them know that, like, you wish things could have worked out for the best, but, obviously, what he wants is not aligning with what she wants. And if you guys can't align on what you want on the most fundamental level of a relationship, then, shit's probably not gonna work. So, that's it. You wish them well, you thank them for their time, and that's it. I mean, yeah, it's gonna fucking suck, and it's gonna fucking hurt, but trust me, like, however long it takes this dude to, like, get over it, it's gonna be so much better for him in the long run. Because, dude, the last thing you wanna do is, like, be in a relationship where like, you're the rebound or, like, you're, like, the option, you know? Like, you wanna be in a relationship where it's like, you are the only option. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are the priority. Like, can you, seriously, like, can you imagine being in a situation where, like, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking to yourself, like, "Damn, I'm the rebound." You know what I'm saying? Like, or, "Damn, like, you know, I'm the backup option." Like, that's not a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? And, I like, me personally, like, I it would always bother me. It would always be in the back of my mind. It's not something I'd be able to just, like, let go of, you know? So, that's why I said what I said.
All right, then the verdict.
Well, hold on.
I mean, I think I already know what it is, but
So you know my verdict, but do you have anything that you wanna add to what I'm saying or what he said in the post?
well, I mean, obviously, if we take it from the surface, like you said, we don't have her opinion.
Right.
I mean, the answer is pretty clear. Like, would he be the asshole? To answer the question, would he
Right.
be the asshole? Probably not. It probably depends on how he delivers it, which is why I asked you, like, if you were in his shoes, how would
Right,
you do it?
right.
Like, if he just leave a text, probably is an asshole. I mean, even if she did kind of hit you in the back like that, it's a
Yeah.
backstabbing action, like, if you really wanna talk about it,
Hey, you not lying, brother. You not lying.
especially for a three-year-old relationship. Uh, I think after all that time, this was I mean, the reasoning's kinda bullshit, I think, too. Although I'm a little bit confused on what the reasoning meant. So if we read it again, it said her reasoning was we did not get to enjoy ourselves in the past. That could mean anything.
A lot of things, right?
That could be like before they met, like in the past, as in early in the relationship. So I mean, it's a little bit unclear. I mean, it kind of sounds bullshitish in that sense. But even with that, I mean, you've been together for 3 years. I think she at least deserves to hear this in person. So if he does that, would he be the asshole? No. If he just shoot her one line text and kicks her out, I'm assuming they live together. Kicks her out
Ugh,
the door with all the
I
all,
actually didn't think about that. If they also live together, oh my god,
yeah.
bro. Jesus.
I mean, that's kind of the after the fact. You know, that
Right,
doesn't
right.
really have anything to do with leaving the relationship. That's kind of the fallouts of or yeah, the fallouts of what happens afterwards. But judging from what he wrote, is he really the asshole for thinking about this or trying to leave the relationship? I would say no. Um, just seems like she said, seems to be coming out of nowhere. Her reasons doesn't sound all that coherent.
Not at all.
But I would say that they probably should talk about it a little bit. Um,
Oh, that I do agree with. I definitely think this warrants a discussion no matter which way you think about it. But
yeah, I mean, I would probe a little bit more on her reasoning if he hasn't done already, because obviously, if they've been together for 3 years, and I mean, he says in the very first paragraph, stable relationship, no red flags, but then it came out of nowhere. Chances are she's probably been thinking about this for a while.
I mean, that's
What
usually the case,
Yeah,
right?
and that's usually the case. Whether she's already had a guy she's been talking to behind his back for a while, that's irrelevant because I think in any relationship, if you want to get to that point, she probably would have felt some dissatisfaction or unhappiness in the relationship for a while before that happened. Because you don't just wake up one day. I mean, some people do apparently, but you don't just
It's
wake
very
up
rare
one day.
though.
Yeah, it's pretty rare
It's pretty
that
rare.
you just like wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm gonna leave this person. No, there's probably something that's been built up for quite a while, and then they start looking elsewhere, and then that's where they might be. You know that meme where the guy's holding a girl's hand, they're walking, but then he's looking behind for some other chick. Like
Oh my
that
god.
only happens after something that he's not happy with the girl that he's holding his hand with. So
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
probably something that's been building up for a while. Maybe it's good to talk about that, even if he's going to leave, as some way for closure. Because if he just jumps into this and just kind of, because he asked, he's like, should do this without salvaging it? It may be inevitable, even if you do try to salvage it, and that's why he might want to skip the step. But if you ask the right questions, try to find out, that'll only help him get to a closure much faster rather than just jumping out this seat and saying, hey, because you said this, I don't want to be with you. Because then he's going to have to spend more time to try to come to a closure.
Couple things. Couple things. Uh One, this kind of reminds me of like people that like get married and then all of a sudden, your partner is like, you know what? I need to take a trip to find myself. It's like, what the fuck? Like, shouldn't you have done that before you got married? Like, what the fuck you mean find yourself? Like, oh my God, bro. So, like, that kind of is what I was reading when I initially read this post is okay, it's fine. Like, if you need to take time for yourself, it's in the fucking phrase, yourself, you know? If you wanna learn more about yourself, discover yourself, et cetera, that is something you do yourself. That's not something someone else is gonna help you do, you know? And so, that's why I got kinda, like, I guess, irritated when I was, like, reading this.
What?
I hate when people do that shit. It's just like, I think everyone should work on themselves. It's just part of life, but it's yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that she's using this like open relationship as an excuse to get out of whatever and just string this guy along, I just think it's just bullshit left and right, bro. If I had a flag, I would just be waving the fuck out of it, like bullshit, bullshit, bullshit,
We should have prepared a red flag.
Hey, hey, next episode.
Yeah,
but
but yeah, I mean,
oh
I
god.
think to kind of jump onto your point, there's things you can work on yourself in a relationship. There's things you can't, and this seems to be one of those you probably should have done it before,
Exactly.
or get
Right.
out of the relationship and do it afterwards. So I think we're in agreement here. Not the asshole. Of course, we don't know her side of the story, which is why I suggested if you're gonna end things with her, at least ask her more questions around why she wasn't happy. Oh, she didn't say she wasn't happy. She said she did not get to enjoy themselves in the past. Whatever the hell that means, he probably needs to
Yeah, what
find
the
out.
fuck does that even mean, bro? Like Jesus Christ.
At least that way, if he does break up, he has a clear answer and he kind of, in a way or in a sense, have tried everything so that he could come to find some peace himself a lot faster. Obviously, she's made up her mind, from what I can tell. Um, so yeah, best of luck to this guy. I think one more thing we could talk about here,
Yeah, yeah.
this is like the center of this theme, or central theme of this topic, is your opinion on an open relationship, or
Call me old.
any advice for guys
Well,
other than this guy who's thinking about or have dealt with or is currently getting the prospect of entering an open relationship. What would you say?
yeah, so I have two thoughts and opinions. I'll save the second one for the end of this particular post. Call me old school, but like me personally, I personally couldn't do an open relationship. Um, like I'm really big on loyalty and commitment. Like those have always been some of my core like morals and values. Um, and so for me, like the idea of like dating or have knowing my partner is dating multiple people. while with me, like it just like wouldn't sit right. Um, so if you're gonna do it though, I think it comes down to expectations, like sitting down with that other person and saying, "Hey, like these are the expectations that we are agreeing to by entering an open relationship." Whatever the fuck that means nowadays, all right? um, I think there's an MMA fighter. His name's Sean O'Malley. He is in an open relationship,
Oh, I
and
wasn't aware of that. Wow,
yeah,
interesting.
uh, I'm pretty sure he still is, but he talked about it openly on a podcast, and that was kind of one of the things that he made very clear. It's like, hey, these are the expectations. Like there are no surprises by being in an open relationship with me, and if anything changes or anything comes up, I will let you know. And so, if you're gonna do an open relationship, I think expectations, or no, excuse me, setting the expectations up front is key. If you cannot do that, then I just wouldn't even think about it. Like, if you just want to fuck around, go fuck around. Like, don't put the label of open relationship on it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do your thing. It's all good. So that way, it's like, if someone comes back and is like, oh, well, hey, I had these feelings for you and whatever, whatever. Then, it's just like, well, we never talked about it and we didn't set that expectation going in. So that would be my advice if you're going to do it.
Fair enough. I mean, I would agree. Nowadays, relationships or like dating
Bro,
is
it's a mess.
a lot
It's an
more
absolute mess.
different than, I guess our time or before our time. Like 50s, 60s, you court a woman and you take him out to date and then you become official. I mean, obviously, like every decade has interesting edge cases, like open relationship. I'm pretty sure open relationship have existed the whole eternity of humanity. But like from a general perspective, it seems like dating scene and relationship gets a little bit more murkier every year. So I would say if you're into open relationship, I've personally know people that are in open relationship or were in open relationship. I obviously haven't checked, but like you said, you know, one way street. So one person wants and the other person kind of reluctantly. That never works.
No,
That
never.
never works for anyone. It eventually breaks apart. Uh, I mean, one door is closed, the other is open. Is not an open relationship. It really only works when there's two-way door. So two people agree to have an open relationship with the right expectations. I mean, they set rules and boundaries. I think, uh, as with any other relationship, this is just an interesting case. So if you're gonna enter one, like Andrew said, set expectations, know the right outcomes. Don't be surprised if
That's
uh, if things turn out the way they turn out because that's something you agreed on. Obviously, nobody does a binding agreement. Nobody signs a contract. So at any point, just like in a regular relationship, you could break things apart in an open relationship. And just to end this topic, I would say, on top of what you said, don't be afraid to walk out when you need to, because you know marriage is a different thing. Obviously, that's like legally binding. So
literally.
the thing, yeah, literally, I've signed the paper, so I know how that goes. But in a regular relationship, romantic or otherwise, you could enter and leave as you want, whether it's an open relationship or just an exclusive relationship. You are the owner of your life, and in the end, if you like it, stay. Like, there's nothing we can tell you, and just to kind of talk about this OP, if he wants to do this and he's okay with it, nothing we can say is going to change his mind because he owns that part of his life. So, in that sense, do what you think you're the happiest with, but know that there are expectations and things you need to be aware of. And don't be surprised if things don't turn out the way you thought, because what you agreed on could be different from reality.
So I have one last thing. I doubt, I don't even know who this person is, but if for some reason he's watching this, just look right here. Look right here. um, Young, you brought up an interesting point earlier. You were talking about closure, and I think for me, closure. like the idea of closure has changed pretty drastically for me over the years. Um, I think a lot of people give the other person too much power when it comes to closure. Like they need the other person to give them reasons. They need the other person to give them an explanation as to whatever the situation is in order to give them closure. But the reality is you are the only person that can give yourself closure, right? You can look for all the explanations, all the reasons, et cetera, in the world. But at the end of the day, if you cannot give yourself closure and give yourself peace, then it's not really closure. So, again, if this motherfucker is watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, which I hope he is, because we know we need the viewers. But when you think about closure, remember it's for yourself. It's not for anybody else. You don't need the validation from the other person. Closure is for yourself and for yourself only. And the sooner that you can accept that, the easier it will be as you start to detach and kind of try to heal from the situation. So, hey, brother, we appreciate you posting this on Reddit. Not like you posted it to us, but posting it for the world to see and shit. You know what I'm saying? But just, hey, Godspeed, brother. Because hey, if I was in a situation like this, dude, I would feel terrible. So I'm with you.
Sounds good. Best of luck to you, OP. And then with that, let us jump to the next post. Still on the relationship, but something a little bit different. So let me share that on the screen for the viewers out there.
Oh, this one, yes,
Yes.
bro. I,
So the
ooh.
yeah, we're gonna have a good time with this. The title is "Am I the asshole? Girl I was dating dumped me because she said I was cheap." So, uh, I've been dating a girl for about 3 months. We live about an hour away from each other. I thought it was going great, but today she ended it. She said that she didn't want to be in a relationship where she never gets treated or where it's 100% reciprocal. She said I came across as cheap and she felt now was a good time to end it. I've never considered myself cheap, so I was quite surprised by this. She never came across as wanted to take advantage of me. We split every dinner and every drinks date. Well, I'm assuming on a date. When we got a takeaway meal, I got it 1 week and she got it another. When we did activities such as bowling or the cinema, she paid for those things because I drove to her town. I did most of the driving because I live in a small town with no real fun activities, whereas her town has loads. I didn't ask her to pay. She offered, and it seemed fair because I drove the hour and back. She mentioned that I've never bought her anything. I have never brought her anything, but we've been dating for 3 months. Why would I? It's not like she got me stuff, just treats for my dog once. So it doesn't seem fair she's calling me cheap. When I pointed out when I pointed this out, she said that I earn more than her and she doesn't have the money to treat me, but that she did things like cook me dinner and drive to mine when she can, assuming his house or his town. I asked my friends about this, and it's a pretty evenly split that I was the asshole or that she was trying to take advantage. Some said that she was being a hypocrite, and some said that I should be trying to make a good impression. One said that I came across as an asshole. They all seemed surprised that I never took her out for dinner and paid for us both. But I'm surprised about this because why should I pay for both our dinners just because I'm a man? I am pretty gutted as I really liked her. So was I the asshole in this situation?
You know, I think we should change the title of the segment to Young and Drew Oppa rip Reddit posters a new one because oh my god. Hey, I'm gonna let you start this one because oh your boy's hot.
Ooh.
Your boy's hot in this one. You know what I'm saying? What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Man, where do I start? So the core issue on this one is there seems to be, you know, checking off going on. So this person did this or this person did that. Because of this person did this, I'm going to do this. Or I did this because this other person did this. So if I'm reading this, um, looks like he makes more money than her, uh, but she lives in a place that has more things to do. So at least from that perspective, they have an understanding of like he will go over there. Perhaps he will pay for some stuff. He will make him dinner or whatever. There's a lot of that going on. What I find most interesting is that he seems to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Inconsistent? Um,
Inconsiderate.
well, yes, inconsiderate too, but hypocritical.
Yes.
I guess it's kind of funny that some of his friends called her a hypocrite, when to me it seems like he's the one that is the hypocrite. What I mean by that is, they, they get a meal. She gets a meal sometimes. He gets a meal sometime. But then he says that she offered to pay when he came over because he took the time to drive over there and back. So he was okay with her paying for some stuff in exchange for his reciprocation in action. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
But what I find interesting is later that um that he thinks he's fair because he doesn't have to pay for anything because all she did was get her a dog treat once. But then her reason was, "Hey, I don't have the money like you do. So I will try to do things like cook dinner or me drive over to you when I can as a way to reciprocate." So she did exactly the same. She took the exact same actions as he did
Hmm.
because, because there was a monetary thing that the other person did, that that person, whether it was her or him, decided to do something in reciprocation through an action, a nice gesture, if you will. So she did the same thing that he did, but she was not okay with that. So seems to me like he thinks what he did is okay, but what she did is not, even though they're kind of like the same thing. So in that sense, I feel like he's more of a hypocrite than she is. Um, One other thing that I find interesting is his friends. Um,
Okay.
fir-
Yes. Continue,
First,
sir.
let me finish my thought. So,
Yeah.
first of all, if I find it interesting that friends are pretty split, and I find it pretty obvious that his friends are pretty split because I think it's always good to have friends that kind of give you different perspectives, and I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing here. What I find interesting is that she is trying to take advantage, or whoever friend said that she was trying to take advantage, or that she was being a hypocrite. Um, doesn't make a lot of sense to me because seems like he set some again going back to expectations. He set some expectations that on those days when he went over because there was nothing to do, took time out of his day to drive over back and forth. So he was okay with her paying stuff when they were doing activities, whether it's bowling or cinema. But it seems like he wasn't okay with that when she did things like cook him dinner because she didn't have the money to pay for some stuff sometimes. So, I mean, I don't know whose friends these are that says she's a hypocrite. If anything, she did exactly what he did to her because she probably thought that was okay as a way to manage expectation in this particular relationship. Um, from what I can see, and I don't want to read too much into this, like into details about who they are, but it seems like he either has not dated a lot because when you obviously he has some good points, like he just got to know her. So there might be some reservations about like paying for everything
Hmm.
in the sense that you in fact might get taken advantage of. But I mean, he's been seeing this girl for 3 months and he's putting all this effort, like an hour away. So he goes there for an hour, he comes back for an hour. Do you really have to penny pinch? I'm not so sure. I mean, if you are, why the hell are you dating somebody an hour away? I don't understand. In that sense, I'm going to say he's the asshole. Um, just to add on to that, uh, from a personal experience, I used to be a guy like this. You know, I'm always very frugal about stuff, and I was always about, and I guess to some sense, I'm still about what's being fair, which is fine, I think. Uh, I like you said, I don't want to expect my date to want me to pay everything. I think, in fact, that's a red flag if somebody expects you to pay for everything on the first date or the second date. Having said that, this appears to me not to be the case. It seems like they've done some fair trading between themselves about things you can't make up with money by doing things that kind of reciprocates. So in that sense, I think he's just being pretty cheap. Like I said, I used to be like this. I actually took a girl out once, and then we split the bill the night after she kind of took care of me after a drunk night. Um, Needless to say, I got yelled at by some of her friends, some of my friends too. So I think you learn the lesson pretty quickly. If somebody does something nice to you, it doesn't hurt to pay them back, and whether that's like paying for their meal or a nice gesture. I think it goes very well, and pretty and a long way to maintaining a relationship. So all in all, I think he's the asshole. But I know you have a lot to say about this, so let me hear it.
Hey, brother. Well, I guess to start, I agree with everything that you're saying. I think, dude, I just hate cheap people, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, dude, it's if it's someone you care about, especially in this case, because apparently they're dating, then why are you penny pinching? Why are you keeping tabs on the other person like that? It just sounds like a toxic situation. You know what I mean? And if you really want to, keep tabs, she's paid for him. If I'm reading the post, she's paid for him to go bowling, movie tickets. She's cooked for this motherfucker. Bought this motherfucker dog treats, and the only leg he has to stand on is he drove. Well, no shit, you drove. You're dating. What, you gonna have this like virtual relationship where you're not gonna see the other person? So like, why are you even like keeping tabs
Hey man,
on something like that,
nowadays you never know. He might call her Uber. He might be like, "Hey, can you take the bus?"
bro? All right. Can you imagine, like, he posts an update? Yeah, I offered to call her an Uber or tell her to take the bus, and then she broke up with me. I don't know what happened. It's just like, like what? What did you think was gonna happen? So, you know, uh, that's just my opinion, bro. This guy's a fucking asshole, and I don't know how old he is, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if he doesn't like change his perspective on the way he sees, splitting the bills or just finances and relationships, good fucking luck to you, brother. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know. I just feel like that's just such a stressful way to manage your relationships where you're counting pennies and keeping tabs on people. Um, I remember like back in college, like the dudes that would like ask you to Venmo them like $1 or like $3, you would just look at him and be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? you know?
Well,
Um,
I think one time is okay because you don't know the person
or a
necessarily.
dollar.
Hey man, some college kids are super cheap,
Oh
super
god,
poor.
even in college, bro, like that shit would irritate me. It's just like, bro, like a dollar. You could ask a homeless guy for $1. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck you mean Venmo you $1? I don't know. That's just me. But you know, I don't know, man. Like, I remember I dated this one girl where I like flew to go see her, and I was like, hey, like, send me like the total for the Airbnb or whatever, right? And the response was no. Like, I'm gonna cover it. Like, you paid for me. You paid to come hang out with me for a weekend. So the least I can do is pay for the Airbnb. And so that is like in my mind the way like a healthy relationship should be when it comes to splitting the bill, finances, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Because if it's something someone you care about, in reality, you will break even eventually. And this is actually something I learned from my parents. Because, growing up and young, I'm sure like saw this a lot too. Like Asian people, we're always fighting for the bill. It's like, I'll pay for it. No, I will pay for it. No, I will pay for it. And then there's the white dude that doesn't offer to pay. And he's like, oh, thanks. And you're just like, oh, what the fuck? Like, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? So granted, like, that's just the environment I grew up in. And that's just kind of like what I saw growing up. So that's just kind of the way I live my life with respect to this particular situation. Um, but honestly, bro, fuck this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like this dude, honestly, what made this guy think this was even a good idea to post? Like, did this guy really think like you know what I mean? Like people are gonna rally around him and be like, yeah, man, like fuck that girl. It's like, dude, what are you thinking? And even just the way he wrote this post, it's like you are fucking exposing your motherfucking self right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
something came to mind here as I'm
yeah, go
reading
ahead, go
this.
ahead.
Who do you think is more of an asshole? This guy who's obviously penny pinching and
Mhm.
keeping tabs on everything, or his friends that are saying she's trying to take advantage or that she was a hypocrite? Obviously, he has good friends that says, you know, you should be doing this.
Right,
It seems
right.
pretty fair to me. And obviously, one of them even said he across as an asshole. So, hey, good on you, that friend. But who do you think it was more of an asshole, him or the friends that said she's trying to take advantage? Because I just don't see it.
I think he needs to cut out those friends that are telling him that she's the asshole, like for real. Um, because that's actually a really good example of friends that are yes men, right? Or friends that will just tell you what you want to hear. And I'm telling you right now, and this is one of the hardest lessons, and I'm sure for you too, Young, like I've had to learn. Surrounding yourself with people that just tell you what you want to hear or a bunch of like yes men is one of the worst things you can do for yourself and the longevity of your life. Because a real friend or a loyal friend will put you in your place when you're fucking up. And based on the information provided in this particular Reddit post, yeah, you're in the fucking wrong, dude. And shout out to your friends that have told you you need to like step the fuck up. Because dude, can you imagine if all of his friends were like, "Yeah, fuck that girl. She's not doing enough." Like, dude, that's like the most toxic fucking group of friends you could probably surround yourself with. So, I'm with you, man. I don't think there's much room for debate here. I think this dude's a sack of shit. He sounds cheap. And I'll tell you what, if I ever saw any of these motherfuckers in person, just you know what I'm saying? Like, just get your shit together, bro. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
we don't
god.
condone violence. That's just a figure of speech. But
Definitely figure of speech. Confirmed.
okay, so we are in pretty much the agreement that he's an
Oh yeah.
asshole. So just to kind of cap this one off, what? Because this, I think this comes up more than you think
Oh, it
when you
it absolutely
first
does.
when you're
Right.
first starting a relationship, or like we said in the first post, like who really knows what's dating? You could be in an open relationship, not exclusive. I mean, you can put as many tags as you want, but the fact is you are spending time with this other person
Mhm.
who obviously may or may not have the same values or the cultural things or whatever with you. So there's gonna be always some expectations to manage. And I guess one of the things that probably comes up is money, whether that's you know like this guy with the girl. When you go bowling, cinema, like little things. It could be as little as like sharing a meal, bowling together. I don't know what kids do nowadays, but putt putt. I'm just throwing out an example there. Like it could be as little as that, and up to now you're in a serious relationship. You may be living together, and like you gotta share the bills and pay for stuff. Occasionally, you want to have a nice dinner in the middle of all the daily stuff you have to pay for. And then there's things like, well, sure, we can set some expectations, but you know, and I think that was also a point made here is one person makes more money than the other. So yep, there's a lot of things to manage. So what would your advice be for somebody who may be having that situation or who may be in that situation on how to navigate through, you know, financial stuff.
Yeah, I think I actually like this question a lot because I think we're getting to that age where, people are getting married, they have to really start thinking about finances. And there are a lot of situations, even in our friend group, where, one person makes significantly more than the other. And the way I have always kind of viewed it is everything is in proportion, right? So I know, like, my last relationship, I made significantly more than my partner at the time. So what we felt was fair was for rent, for example, like I would pay 60% and then she paid 40 just based on our current salaries at that time. And that was fair. It worked out. And you kind of like break even too. Like, if you go out to do something fun, like, like I would pay for a lot of the dinners. And then she would chip in where she could. And as long as both people not only agree to what I just explained, but as long as both people are still putting in the same amount of effort into the relationship, then you'll probably be fucking fine. But like this motherfucker clearly isn't doing any of those things, right? um, I don't know about you, Young, because it is different for you now because you're married, obviously. But dude, I just couldn't imagine being in a relationship where someone is constantly keeping tabs. Like, hey, like I paid for this, I paid for that. Hey, did you pay for this yet? It's just like, dude, like, fuck, man. Like, we'll break even eventually. And I think like as long as you guys are kind of aligned on that, again, going back to the theme of this podcast, relationships and managing expectations, then you'll probably be fine. But again, as long as you have the conversation, as long as you motherfuckers are aligned on exactly what I just explained, then it usually works out, especially from what I've seen. Um, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I guess just to finish that, he talked about, or Drew talked about, you know, people in our age group. We're more than established compared to someone that's younger than us, mid 20s or early 20s, even in college. So things are a bit more clear on the expectations there. Like
Right. Right.
it's highly likely both people are working. There may be some income discrepancy, but then you kind of proportion it out. Especially as the deeper your relationship go, there's more things that you guys are sharing that you have to pay together, and it gets a little bit easier, I think, in a way, because you pretty much at that point know each other's income, and you can sort of kind of plan around that. And obviously, just because you make much more money and you have to pay more doesn't mean you're carrying more weight. There's other ways the partner can reciprocate, like we talked about in this post. If you're a little bit younger, and maybe you're dating somebody younger than you that's in college, maybe broke, which kind of sounds like the situation a little bit.
Right.
And obviously, we don't have all the facts here to definitively say, but I think all the point you make is true. Like, there's ways to manage this expectation. There's ways to contribute in this relationship, uh, no matter where you are in the relationship. This guy's in 3 months, relatively short, I think. Obviously, when you first meet, or when it's first date or second date, you kind of have to take the hit from time to time. You kind of have to be. You could be the person to pay the whole thing on the first date or the second date, and then you kind of like gauge how the other person behaves. If they're all about taking advantage of you, obviously you know your signs to get out of there. But like 3 months is probably a good enough time, regardless of where you are in your life or where she is in her life, to be able to know or figure out a way to make it fair for each of us or each of the person in the relationship.
What I would add to what Young is saying too is if you're early on into dating or you're trying to figure out if you align with someone on particular finances and the way you think about finances, this is a good like litmus test to tell you and let you know whether you feel like you're gonna like vibe with this person, right? Um, like if I was a female and actually I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. but but use this as a litmus test, right? It's like, hey, like based on the way this person thinks about finances, are they a penny pincher? Are they more of a hey, like I appreciate you giving me your time type of person? Um, like use that as a data point for yourself to figure out whether you feel like this person is going to be a good fit for you. Like honestly, because in America specifically, because me and Young are both based in the US, I feel like one of the biggest causes of divorces, breakups, etc., honestly comes down to finance. You know what I mean? Um, and I feel like the sooner you can get that taken care of and get aligned on that topic, I feel like the healthier your relationship will be. And even friendships too. You know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of friendships just go south because of money. I think I'm a firm believer that money is the root of all evil. And you can kind of see it in this fucking post. You know what I mean? Like this dude's fucking posting shit on Reddit for being a cheap motherfucker. You know what I mean? And what is his root cause of that? Money. So that's what add my final bits there. You know what I'm saying?
Cool. So we talked about. So let's wrap this up. We talked about two interesting posts around relationship and managing expectations around relationship in two different lenses. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. So the theme again for today's podcast is navigating through relationships and expectations. And if you think about the two posts that we reviewed today, it kind of covers exactly just that, right? It's one, like if your relationship is going south, like what are the ways you can navigate through it in a way where you come out, not broken into pieces, right? Like if you look at the first post, this guy is obviously heartbroken because the person he's like clearly madly in love with wants to have an open relationship. And that stems to a bunch of other things that we covered earlier, right? Like, she was probably talking to this dude on the side. This dude was always around. And, you know, she's probably over it. So from there, I think the takeaways is take care of your motherfucking self. Number two is don't look for closure from the other person. Find the closure for yourself and in yourself because I'm guilty of this too, right? Like if you are looking for closure from the other person, you'll never actually find peace for yourself. And in that itself, that's almost an expectation for your motherfucking self. So those would be my first two takeaways from the first post. And the second post, ah, this guy's just a sack of fucking shit, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck this guy. Um, don't be cheap. Honestly, like I feel like that's not even an expectation, if I'm being completely honest. I think, dude, if you're trying to, riz up a girl, try to spit some game, being cheap is not gonna do it, brother. Because look at the title of the post. Girl I was dating dumped me because she said I was cheap. In what world are you gonna wow a girl by being cheap, brother? You know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, also use this as an indicator or a data point to let you know whether you're going to vibe with this particular person or not. Because, again, like I was saying earlier, finances will break apart not just romantic relationships, but friendships, family relationships real fucking fast. So, my advice to you as an Oppa is take that shit seriously when you're getting to know somebody. Because, in my personal opinion, it will be what makes or breaks you in the long term. But those are my takeaways from the 2 posts from today.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna add one more thing um, on both posts. Actually, is we talk about managing expectation and navigating through the relationships that we have or that we are getting into. I think one biggest thing that the both OPs kind of missed or could do it better, or I mean, we just don't have the right information to know whether they do or not, is communication. That's pretty big. When you're setting expectations, you have to kind of let the other person know,
Yes.
hey, this is what I'm okay with. What do you think about this? And then they may have their opinion, and then that's kind of how you figure out. Like the last thing you said is like use this as a way to figure out if you're gonna be in this relationship or not, or continue to be in the relationship or not. Well, you can't really know that until you tell the other person what you're okay with, what you're not okay with, get their opinion on things. And that will make your relationship much smoother to navigate and kind of, when you really hit the rock, that's kind of the way you figure things out or don't figure things out. So I want to note that there. Any final thoughts?
I think we finally kind of encompassed or emphasized the the whole purpose of this podcast, which is we are two oppas and we gave two very strong opinions today. And so I'll take us out, brother. So again, this is the Double Oppa podcast or the Double O podcast. We drop episodes every Monday. Uh, we're we're operating a little slow right now because it's really just me and Young doing all the editing. I actually just found someone that will help with the production and editing moving forward. So we'll be back on our regular scheduled episode drop very soon here. But again, if you like today's segment, let us know. If there's other topics or anything that you want us to go into, let us know. Like we just saw the presidential debate go down, which we can definitely talk about for a long time. Let us know. And yeah, make sure to follow us on all platforms. So we're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. We'll leave all of those links to those platforms in the about this episode section and in the about this podcast section. But other than that, this is a good episode, man. So make sure to stay tuned because we got a lot more good shit coming.
Sounds good. We appreciate everybody listening. And until next week, peace.
Peace.